In today's Warzone 2 video, we're taking a look at the top 5 best setups you guys need to be using. These are going to be some updated setups since Season 2's been out for a little bit that we're going to be jumping into. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. Alright, so to start all off here, I want to get kind of into the tactical, the lethal, the perk package, since you can actually create your perks and everything like that and like customize it. So normally speaking, I run a smoke grenade, I run a throwing knife because large in part I play a Sheikah Island, not really as much Al Mazrah, but it can come in handy on Al Mazrah. You can probably swap that out for something like maybe like a Semtex, be a little bit more effective, or even like a drill charge, but otherwise I just go with a throwing knife. My perk package here kind of goes with Overkill, Scavenger, Fast Hands, and Ghost. Scavenger you can kind of mess around with and maybe run something else, and also Ghost you can swap it out for something maybe like High Alert. But this is kind of like my general perk package here that I've been running with, and I'm going to be tweaking and tuning it here the more I play. But for our first gun here today, we're going to be taking a look at the Chimera. This is a really great gun to be able to jump into here as far as like sniper support, and also just being like a hybrid, you know, AR SMG. This is a really fun gun to use, and it's super effective, so let's hop into it. So of course, first attachment's gonna be the SA Leveler 55. This is gonna help us out with that vertical recoil control. I mean, it just doesn't show you obviously the pros right here. It's kind of a little bit fun like that. That solo glitch that was there from Season 1, and for whatever reason it's here in Season 2, but we happen to have the SA Leveler, and it's a really great attachment. The tune on this is gonna be a plus 0.59 to plus 0.18. After that, we're gonna go up in here to the barrel section on the 10 SA Phoenix. Damage range increase, bullet velocity, hipfire accuracy, and of course recoil control. All great things here to have on this gun. And by the way, this is the Superheat variant. It's kind of like that Damascus. I got this from the shop for you guys that are wondering. The tune on this is gonna be a plus 0.42 and a plus 0.23. And then now let's move on over here to the laser section. So the VLK Laser 7 MW, ADS speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. Great attachment for a variety of different guns. I love running it whenever I can, and this build just works out perfectly with it. The tune on the laser, since you can tune the lasers now, is going to be negative 0.39 and negative 26.32. There's a lot of like movement down there on the bottom, so you can really mess it up pretty fast, but to negative 26, somewhere in the general range, you guys should be fine. Moving on over here to the optic section, the Corona Mini Pro. This is just going to be my red dot sight of choice. As you guys can see there by the reticle, it is the blue dot. You guys get this by moving the or unlocking the Expedite shotgun or leveling it up to level 7. So definitely go ahead and do that if you've not done that already, so you unlock that blue dot red dot sight for all your guns. Very nice to be able to have. The tune on this is going to be negative 1.84 and negative 2.25. Now let's actually move on down here to the final attachment, the 45 round mag. You got to bump this up from the base 30 to 45. I just believe that makes sense to be able to do, especially considering, you know, in Warzone, you just run into multiple people at a time, usually speaking. So having that extra ammo in the mag, even though the TTK is super fast, can still be the difference between you coming out on top and potentially having to reload and dying. So definitely give that a try. But this is my full build for the Chimera. Hope you enjoy it. Next up, we're going to be taking a look here at the MCPR, a sniper rifle, which is something I don't genuinely throw in my top 5s, but there is something in the game right now that allows you to start getting those one shots even on those 3-plate enemies, but it does come with running a specific attachment. So we're going to get into that and show you guys how to make this thing a one-shot sniper here, especially on a Sheikah Island. So here's my general base overview of these attachments. Now we'll get into everything and break it all down for you. So first thing here's gonna be the Nil Sound 90. This is gonna be a great suppressor to have. Sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, recoil smoothness, all great things here to be able to have on any sort of like gun, pretty much in general. You really can't go wrong with that. The tune on this is gonna be a negative 1.08 and a plus 0.87, so try it out. Now let's move on up here to the FSS OLE laser. This is going to give us that aim down sight speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. Like I said, for the Chimera, it just works out great on a variety of different guns, and this one is no different. The tune on this is going to be a negative 0.39 and a negative 41.13. So just kind of write that down and try it out. Let's move on back here to the optic section, the Forge Tac Delta 4. This is going to give us that 5.5 times magnification, which is perfect for playing on something like a Sheikah Island. You guys could definitely run this on Al Mazrah, but you may have to go for a bit more of a bigger optic or a higher zoom optic. For me, I don't really like to go much past a 4 or 5 times, especially since I'm going to be playing that Resurgence map almost exclusively, so this works out perfectly for me. The tune on this is going to be a negative 2.32 and a negative 0.75 there, maxed out all the way on the bottom. Now let's get on back here to the stock section, the FSS Merc stock. So crouch movement speed, sprint speed, and aim down sight speed. Just got to speed this gun up here a little bit. I mean, that's just really all it is. I mean, you lose a tad bit of recoil control, but I mean, it is a bolt action gun, so we're not really too concerned with that. The tune on this is going to be a negative 3.10 and negative or a plus 0.155 there on the bottom. Now to get on here to our last attachment, definitely not least, so this is what makes this thing super good, the .300 mag incendiary round. So this is going to give you that incendiary damage that says vehicle damage, but you have to be running these incendiary rounds because, you know, you do a lot of damage with your sniper as is, but this is going to pretty much make the enemies like burn and lose that health, and so so they may not go down instantaneously. It's kind of a little bit up in the air if they go down like literally as soon as you hit them, or if they're going to go down like a second or something later when that, you know, incendiary damage hits them. But this is what makes this thing a one-shot sniper, so you have to run this in order to make it a one-shot sniper rifle. The tune on that is going to be a plus 0.56 and a 6.39, so that's how we have this effectively tuned. So this is a beautiful one-shot sniper setup. Give it a try. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Next up, we're going to be taking a look here at one of my favorite ARs to use currently in Warzone. That is the brand new ISO Hemlock. So for those guys that do not have this unlocked, I'd highly recommend you guys go ahead and get it unlocked. This is a beautiful assault rifle to be able to use here on Warzone 2, and especially on Ashika Island. This thing is a laser beam and it's got a great damage profile. So here's my general base overview of my attachments here. This is going to be a pretty medium to longer range AR setup. I know you guys can mess with a few different things if you want to like speed it up, but this is going to be a general base setup that you guys can really enjoy. So first we got to get the Harbinger D20, sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. Great attachment on that. The tune on this is going to be a plus 0.99 and a plus 0.65, so that's how I got that tuned. Now let's move up into the barrel section. Fielder T50, damage range, bullet velocity, hipfire accuracy, and recoil control. Massive benefits here on any AR, and this can make this thing so much more effective at those longer ranges. Like genuinely, it will make it 10 times more effective, so do that. The tune on this is going to be a plus 0.18 and a negative 0.22. And now let's move on down here to the underbarrel section for one of my favorites, the FTAC Ripper 56. Aiming idle stability, fire accuracy, and of course recoil stabilization. You really can't go wrong with that. It just works on so many guns so well, and this gun is no different. It works out beautifully. It's like pretty much making this thing an absolute laser beam. The tune on this is going to be a negative 0.57 and a plus 0.27. Now moving on down here to the magazine section, we got a 45 round mag. This kind of reminds me of the CR56 AMAX from Warzone 1, for those of you guys that remember that. That was an absolute banger of a gun, but it had like a 30 and a 45 round mag, and this kind of reminds me of that in that sense where, you know, it's got a 45 round mag, it doesn't have a 60, but this thing is going to be very meta to use, and I would highly recommend you guys have the 45 round mag on there. For our last attachment though, we got to go up to the very top for the AMOT V4. Pretty tried and true classic sight here in Warzone. Definitely recommend for you guys to be able to try this thing out. I mean, I go for this pretty much exclusively. I don't go for any of those higher magnification sights. I don't believe it to be necessary or beneficial. I just genuinely don't. And the tune on this is going to be a negative 1.06 and negative 1.65, aka maxed out on the bottom. So that's my full build there. Now let's hop into our next gun. All right, next up, we're taking a look at one of my favorite SMGs to use in Warzone 2 right now, especially on Ashika Island for those close quarters engagements, the Lockman sub. So this is a banger new build that a lot of people are really going to be enjoying, and I'm sure you're going to be seeing it out there when you play the game, so I'd recommend you guys use this. So here's my general base overview of my attachments for this. It's a really solid setup, super high mobility, pretty easy to control in that recoil, so you guys are going to be taken care of at that close range. So first thing here, XRK Sandstorm going to help massively with your vertical recoil control. The Lockman sub is very, you know, famous or infamous for having a decent amount of vertical recoil, and if you can control that, this attachment will definitely do so and really help you, you know, be able to land a lot more of your shots. You're not using this outside of that closest range, but at close range, this will help you stay on target quite significantly. The tune on this is going to be a negative 0.31 and a plus 0.25, so that's how I got that tuned. Now let's move on up in here to the laser section for the VLK Laser 7MW, ADS speed, aiming stability, and sprint to fire speed. I mean, you really can't go wrong with this. Between this, the FSS OLE, pretty much the same thing, different name. It does, you know, the same thing. And obviously what the other one does is fantastic, so as is this one. The tune on this is going to be negative 0.37 and a negative 19.74, so try that out. Now let's actually move on down here to the 40 round mag. This is a little bit of a hot topic for discussion between the 40 and the 50 round mag. It's like a 50 round drum instead of a 40 round mag. You guys can definitely try out the 50 round drum, but I've had great success running the 40 round mag. I haven't felt that I needed that 50 just yet, but I could potentially switch over this when I try it out a little bit more, do a little bit more personal testing, but otherwise the 40 round, you really can't go wrong. Now let's move on back here to the rear grip, the Lockman TCG10. This can help us out with that recoil control because obviously we don't have an underbarrel on this thing, so we got to help stabilize the gun out. I mean, at least in the recoil control department, it says you lose a tad bit of aiming stability, but don't worry about that. You're not really going to notice it. The tune on this is going to be a plus 0.65 and a negative 0.20. And then for our last attachment, the LM Stockless mod. Very great attachment for just making sure that you are just peak mobility, and this is going to truly help you out in those close quarter situations. So highly recommend you guys run this attachment. So this is my full build here for the Lockman sub. 100% like number 1 to number 2 meta SMG. All right, so for our last gun here today, we're gonna be taking a look at the RPK. So this gun, I was really hoping with the season 2 update, it would get just completely nerfed into the ground. That and the Fennec 45. I was getting tired of seeing them, but this is a gun I still see pretty much like every single match very frequently here on Ashika Island. So I'd recommend for you guys to still try this thing out. If you're trying to look for something, you just want to stick with something, you know, this is a good setup for it. So here's my general sort of base overview of my setup on this thing. This is going to be a really great one to be able to try out. So let's get into it. First thing here is going to be the ZLR Talon 5. Sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, recoil smoothness. Can't go wrong with this. This is a really great attachment. The tune on this is going to be a plus 0.59, a plus 0.58, so give that a shot. After that, we're going to move on down here to the underbarrel section. Once again, for the F-Tac Ripper 56, a tried and true foregrip that I love running on pretty much all of my guns, so it works out beautifully, especially on this one too. The tune on this is going to be a plus 0.36 and a plus 0.27, so give it a shot. Now let's actually move on up in here to the laser section, the FSS OLE laser, ADS speed, aiming stability, and of course, sprint to fire speed. I mean, this just works on like virtually every gun. It's kind of crazy. And the tune on this thing here is going to be a plus 0.45 and a negative 31.26. Just trying to speed this gun up here a little bit, but you guys can always, you know, slow it down just a little bit more so if you wanted to. And now let's move on over here to our other attachment. Actually, we'll go down here first. We'll get the ammunition, which is the 7.62 high velocity rounds. This is going to help us out with our bullet velocity, just making sure that our shots actually hit faster, register faster. So this is going to be a really great setup to be able to run. And the tune on this is going to be a plus 0.38 and a plus 4.35. So there's that. And for our final attachment, the Aim Op B4. This sight just works good for pretty much every single build you have for that medium to longer range. And just kind of like shows that, you know, if you're not going to be able to see your target at that range with this sight, you probably shouldn't be shooting at them because you're not going to be able to get them down. But with this one right here, this is a great one to be able to run on the RPK. The tune on this is going to be a negative 1.55 and all the way maxed out there on the bottom. So that's been my full build there for the RPK. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, and check out these other videos here on screen. Just turn on Triple Cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.